Okay, it's Sunday, which means against my better judgment, it's time to go to Reddit and see what we can find in this hive of scum and villainy. So I've been to the Overwatch University subreddit ahead of time and just scraped all the questions off the first couple pages. We're going to answer them now. While some footage of Dragon Ball FighterZ plays in the background, because it's a better game than Overwatch is. And if you're wondering which side I started on, just look for whichever side started with Android 21. So, first up is it worth still using Bridget in Gold/Plat? So, I've always maintained that you can do well on any hero, provided that you're good enough on that hero. And I mean, there's been countless sources of evidence for this since the dawn of time with video games, where there's been someone who's played only the lowest tier heroes and still gotten to high ranks. The same has been true in Overwatch as well. So, obviously you can. You can do whatever you want, and as long as you're good enough and you play consistently well, you'll climb. The thing is, some heroes will require more effort to do well on than others, and Bridget is certainly one of those heroes. She's now been nerfed about 12,000 times, without hyperbole, and, you know, it starts to take probably after about 3 or so nerfs, but then they just kind of kept going for a while, so it's definitely at the point where it's gotten extremely difficult to play Bridget. Bridget also has another thing going against her right now, which is that she is not particularly good for this kind of meta. That is to say, lots of shields and long-range fights, which is not really her thing. So you got a few things working against you if you want to play Bridget. Now, I'm a big fan of Bridget. She's still one of my favorite heroes, though I find it extremely difficult to justify picking her. And, you know, that's okay, because I also really like Moira, who has suddenly come very into vogue again, despite being... It was an incredible 180 flip, where people were like, so what's the point of Moira being in the game, exactly? Then the double shield meta starts, and they go, so what's the point in any main healer that isn't Moira, exactly? It was an incredible 180 flip right there. So, it's no big deal for me, really. I'll just play Moira. So, you know, the main thing with Moira, with Bridget rather, is that she's going to be occupying the off-healer slot, because she does not do enough healing to justify the main healer slot. And if Bridget is filling your off-healer slot, that means you do not have a defensive ultimate, which is of extreme risk. Especially when you're going to be playing against toes basically every single game you play. It's going to get pretty bad pretty fast. There's lots of things in this game where if you don't have a defensive ult to help you deal with it, you just kinda eat shit, and there's not a lot you can do about it except pray that the person just fucks up really badly. So the moral of the story is, you can still play her, you know, and if you're a big Bridget fan, you love Bridget, by all means, I encourage you to play Bridget. Whichever character you like, dude, fucking go to town. You play that character. But it's gonna be pretty hard. You can do it, but you're gonna struggle, unfortunately, as sad as it is. So, short answer, no, not really, unless you really like playing Bridget, pretty much. So, next up, is it worth it to nano Mercy while she resurrects? The only situation in which I would ever consider doing this is it's overtime, and, like, we're praying as hard as we fucking can right now. Like, it has to be absolute desperation situation. It's just me and Mercy, and she's trying to res someone. Can't nano myself. No guarantee anybody else is gonna get here. Might as well nano her and hope she gets the res off, you know, like, has to be absolute last-ditch situation for it to even be worth considering, from my perspective. It's just... it's so low value compared to pretty much anything else that you can be doing with the nano boost. It's gotta be the last option, pretty much. And that's basically it. It's a very straightforward question, isn't it? So next up is, in a comp with Baptiste and Ana as healers, who would be the main healer and who would be the off healer? The designation kind of doesn't matter, really, for this kind of situation, because in terms of, like, mechanical benefits, they're both kind of the same hero. They both have high healing output with high utility cooldowns and a damage boosting ultimate, right? Like, so, Ana's ultimate also has the damage reduction and big heal on it, but like, they fulfill the same niches. They're even both like hit scan, that have the chance to like deal damage to like, have the chance to deal like decent damage to people as well, because they have like decent guns, which is fairly rare for a support. So the designation kind of doesn't really matter. If you really wanted to designate one of them as the off-healer, I'd designate Baptiste as the off-healer, just because his healing is, like, slightly less consistent than Ana's is. Ana being, like, her hit scan being her healing being hit scan, whereas Baptiste is projectile, like, grenade, which, if you're really unlucky, someone can jump over, right? Like, so I would, if you really had to go with a designation, I'd designate Baptiste the off-healer, but it's kind of not worth worrying about for, like, that kind of combo of healers, because they both do the same thing. My concern with that combo of healers would be that there's no defensive ultimate in there. Now, Batista gets to cover a little bit of that by having the lamp, but they're about to nerf the lamp, for one thing. But the lamp is also just not as good for surviving things as Transcendence or Sound Barrier is. Because there's no questions asked, you don't die, right? You don't die with the other ultimates. But with the way the lamp is, like, the lamp does not save you from Dragon Blade, like, ever. Unless you are extremely lucky and your teammates actually manage to kill Genji before he breaks the lamp, because that's going to take a swing or two, but like, it doesn't save you from Dragon Blade, whereas Transcendence and Sound Barrier can save you from Dragon Blade. Similarly, like, if they've got a Mei, the lamp is not going to save you from Blizzard. Blizzard lasts too long for the lamp to realistically save you. There's no guarantee the lamp saves you from Death Blossom either, depending on, like, the situation, especially after they nerf the lamp, so that's the main thing with doing, like, Ana Baptiste. You don't have a defensive ultimate. And I mean, this was, like, a meta combo of healers to go with for a while, so it's obviously not, like, a massive hindrance necessarily, but it's something I'm always concerned about. Do we have a defensive ultimate? Because if you don't have a defensive ultimate, dude, sometimes you get fucked. You might get fucked even with the defensive ultimate. The defensive ultimate is no guarantee of winning in a fight versus, like, some ultimates, but the difference is that, like, those defensive ultimates gives you a chance to win a team fight that you would otherwise have zero chance of winning without them, so it's something to always be wondering about, basically, you know? Do we need a defensive ultimate? And the answer is frequently yes, though not always. It depends on the enemy DPS mostly, though you're most likely always going to run into a toes these days, and it's worth having a defensive ultimate just for Gravitic Flux. Lucio is quite popular right now. I mean, Lucio's always been a good hero, don't get me wrong, but like, him and Zenyatta have like the two defensive ultimates, and Lucio is just like a lot better than Zen is right now versus, like, the kinds of team comps we're seeing. Anyway, so, you know, the answer to the original question is, it kind of doesn't matter which of those is the main healer, but if you must designate one of them, I would designate Batista the off-healer. So there you go. So next up, how do you know why you're losing? So the answer is frequently something extremely simple, to be honest with you, like, Reinhardt's going in there, like, just absolutely suicide blitzing into the enemy team. Moira doesn't think she's playing a healer, you know, stuff like that. It's usually something pretty simple. Your hit scan DPS is a potato who can't hit a damn thing, you know. Anything like that is usually the common reasons. The easiest way to, like, identify why you're losing is usually something to the effect of, like, figuring out what your team's win condition is and figuring out what the enemy team's win condition is. And then pinpointing the thing that is stopping you from reaching your win condition. So, supposing that your team comp is, like, we don't need to figure out the full team comp. Let's just imagine your team has Genji, right? So let's just imagine that. So our win condition is Dragon Blade. Nice and straightforward. But the enemy team has got a defensive ultimate, like Transcendence or Sound Barrier. And this is stopping Genji from winning the game for us. So at that point, we think to ourselves, well, what can we do to make it so that they are not blocking our win condition, which will basically amount to focusing Zenyatta, forcing out his ultimate, using another ultimate to bait Transcendence out of Zen first, and then having Genji use Dragon Blade after that. But suppose they don't have a defensive ultimate, suppose they just have a McCree who knows how to play the video game, and every time Genji goes in to make a big play, McCree says no and shuts him down with a flashbang. Well, so now the thing that's blocking our win condition is McCree, so the play becomes bully the fuck out of McCree. Or we can change to Zarya and bubble McCree, or bubble Genji as he goes in, thereby blocking McCree's flashbang, or at least making it a lot harder for him to flashbang him. We can try using another ultimate to set Dragon Blade up a little bit more, so Zarya covers that as well, because if they're all in the Graviton, McCree's going to be worrying about a lot more things than just Genji and flashbanging him, so that can help as well. That's like the easiest thing to figure out, and then you figure out like what's their win condition, and are we blocking them from getting to their win condition? So, vice versa, they've got Genji, and we're getting fucked by Dragon Blade. What can we do to stop Dragon Blade? We can change to have a defensive ultimate if we don't already have one. We can change to people that have got more crowd control. We could try changing to Winston and just having him like hard focus on Genji. We could change to Bridget, hope that she can help stun. If we can't get a defensive ultimate for one reason or another, we can go Bridget. We can stun the Genji, hopefully, and kill him, you know. We've got a few different things we can do to try and block that win condition. So those are it's usually something pretty straightforward, to be honest with you, but if it's not something straightforward, those are the things to look at after that. If you're like having trouble, like really having trouble figuring it out, we've got replays in the game now. So if you then, at the end of a game, you find yourself thinking, why did we lose that? I honestly don't know why we lost. Try watching the replay and watching it from like a broader perspective than just your own. Because once you're watching a game from the perspective of the whole team rather than just your own perspective, it can suddenly become a lot more obvious why you were losing that game. Because you might have been playing like Anna or something and been like, man, I really didn't feel like the flankers were really doing anything. I didn't feel that pressured, so I don't get it. But then you watch the replay back and you see that Zenyatta was getting killed by the flankers 100% of the time. It took him like 10 minutes to even build his ultimate up because he was just getting bullied that hard or something. Then you've identified the reason you lost. One of your players was rendered completely worthless by the enemy team. So if you really can't figure it out, watch the replay back and watch it from a broader perspective, and then you can take that knowledge with you into the future, and it will help you identify why you're losing in the moment, because you've helped build up your knowledge base from examining games previously. So, there you go. That's the answer for you. So, next up is how to play support with bad tanks. So it kind of depends on how bad we're talking, exactly. Like, if we're talking a little bit on the incompetent side, but still basically trying, then the play becomes basically, like, you're gonna have to heal that guy a lot more. Like, you're gonna have to try a lot harder to keep that guy alive. But if we're talking, like, outright suicidal, no self-preservation instincts whatsoever, what you do is you pretty much write that guy off, and if you don't, like, immediately write him off, you just like go, alright, as soon as this guy does the thing, I have now written him off. Like, as soon as this Reinhardt pushes shift and goes behind 12 men, I ain't trying to keep that guy alive, okay? Like, that guy fucking killed himself. That's his problem, right? There ain't no point in me trying to save a fucking dead man. He's done. I've noticed a significant drop in quality in tank players, and you know, like, this is entirely just like me speculating, but I suspect it's because there are a lot of tank players right now that are DPS players that are trying to just get shorter queue times. 'Cause That's what it feels like a lot of the time right now. So, hey, you know, if they're outright suicidal, there's nothing you can do about it, dude. Just write that guy off and focus on other things. Generally, the best thing you can do as a support in this game, as soon as somebody starts, like, if your team is just, like, really bad, let me just start this again. If your team is playing really bad, and you're playing a support, if you're on the bad team, what do? I'm just a support, what do? What you do is you find the best player on your team, and you start pocketing that man as hard as you possibly can, and you hope he carries the game. By the way, if you don't watch the games that are playing in the background very frequently, I'd recommend watching the game that's been playing back here, because this man got very upset after getting comboed once, it seems, and, like last week, when people give up in this game, I'm not gonna give you the easy out. We're gonna drag it out for as long as we possibly can. Have some fucking self-respect for yourself, dude. Play the fucking video game. And if you don't want to play the video game anymore, just fucking Alt F4 out of it. I don't give a shit, dude. I ain't gonna fucking kill you faster because you've gotten mad and given up. This guy also decides towards the end... We've kind of been fucking around a little bit. I got like a character off of him while we were fucking around. Maybe I can win now. It's a very good game. Very good game. So anyway, if your team is playing bad and you're playing a support, find the best player, pocket that guy, try and make it as easy as it can be for him to carry the game, because he's the one you're banking all your hopes and dreams on right now, pretty much. Yeah, like, playing with bad tanks is always going to be, like, unfortunate, you know? And something else you can do is, like, if the player is, like, incompetent but still basically trying, you know, you can play, like, Anna, who outputs a lot of healing and from far away, so it can be easier for you to keep the guy alive when he's doing, like, something that's not outright suicidal, but is just incompetent. You can help keep that guy alive a little bit better. Same if you're, like, Batista or Moira. Batista, a lot of healing output. The lamp can help you keep the guy alive. Moira's just got high healing output, so you might be able to keep the guy alive while he's doing the bad thing, but, you know, you can't do much else, really. And if you're playing a support right now, like, it's gonna be a little bit unfortunate for you, just baseline, because, I mean, the meta supports right now are Moira, Lucio, and these people don't really have, like, a huge amount of carry potential with the video game. The most you can do with Moira is, like, get some kills on people your DPS were unable to kill, right? Other than that, like, you're just healing people, right? And hoping your teammates are not, like, awful, pretty much. And if you're playing Lucio, you can try and kill people, you know, be an absolute god, like, fucking be DSP stanky and all that, but, like, not everybody's that good, so the only other point of articulation you really have with the video game is making sure you have sound barrier every time Sigma uses gravitic flux, so having it for whatever you need sound barrier for, you know? It's kind of it. That's kind of your carry potential as a support right now, is just basically do your job and hope it's good enough, dog. Like, you know? So if you're playing with bad tanks, that's about the best you can do, to be honest with you. Like, it's kind of it. It's hard. Life's hard like that sometimes. So next up, and this is actually the last question I have for this week. It was a fairly question-light week. I was unable to scrape many things up, despite going several pages deep. There was quite a lot of overlap between the questions, or just things I didn't really have anything to say about, really. It's sometimes the case. So anyway, best Widowmaker alternative hero that helps get better with Widowmaker. So, there's always, you know, there's a lot of questions like this. Well, I'm gonna very carefully try and adjust the microphone so that it doesn't make a ton of fucking noise. There's a load of questions like this that's basically like, I want to play hero that is hard to play, but I do not want to be bad at hero that is hard to play. Who can I play that is easier than hard to play hero that will make me better at hard to play hero? The problem is, there is never going to be a substitute for playing the hero, right? Like, The most close hero in terms of playstyle to Widowmaker is probably Hanzo, but that's a projectile hero, and we be honest, we're thinking we want to play a hit scan hero that's an alternative to Widowmaker, aren't we? So the best you get is Ashe. The thing is, Ashe does not feel the same as Widowmaker in most ways. Like, they don't aim the same, they don't position the same. Widowmaker does not have much in the way of cooldown management. Ashe does, you know? You use your ultimates completely differently. There's not much overlap between these two heroes, to be honest with you, because, like, they just don't feel the same when you're aiming, dog. You can try and get, like, your aiming down sights sensitivity as close to, like, 1-to-1 not aiming as you can or whatever, but, like, they don't feel the same to aim, dog. Like, Ashe, compared to other hit-scan heroes, feels extremely different. There was another question on the subreddit this week that was like, I'm really good at McCree, why am I bad at Widowmaker? Because they're two completely different heroes, dog. And this is often the case with, like, most video games. If the character has some kind of utility attached to them, that'll always make them easier to play than the hero that has no utility. Because the hero that's got no utility usually will do a lot of damage as compensation, but you need to be better mechanically at the hero to actually leverage that. If you've got utility, broadly speaking, is quite easy to use. There's not much utility that's hard to use, really, so it usually will boost up your skill level a little bit by virtue of having something you can lean on a little bit more in the kit. Not even necessarily in, like, a disparaging, like, your bad way. Sometimes you have an off game, something you can lean on in your kit is going to help in those kinds of situations as well. But, like, if you want to be good at Widowmaker, there's no way to sidestep this. You have to play Widowmaker. Nobody is going to fulfill a substitute position for playing Widowmaker. And there's other questions like this. I want to play Genji. Who can I play that will get me better at Genji? I want to play Tracer. Who is going to help me be better at Tracer? You know, you see this about tanks and healers as well. Like, I want to be good at Ana. Who's the best support to play that will help me get better at Ana? There isn't one. Like, you've got to play the hero you want to play. You can't sidestep these things, dude. Especially if you want to get, like, really good at a hero. There is no substitute for just playing the hero. So, you're gonna have to just play Widowmaker. And that means you're gonna suck. You know, it means you're gonna be bad. It means you're gonna feed. It means that your teammates are gonna yell at you, particularly because you're playing one of those heroes. You know, one of those heroes that people just hate to see on their team, and as soon as something starts going even a little bit wrong, we hard focus in on that aspect. Regardless of whether or not that hero is doing badly or not, we are currently haven't full held the enemy team, so that must be Sombra's fault that we did not full hold them, so clearly we should start bullying the Sombra to do something else. You know, that general line. If you're trying to play a hero that's hard to play, like, you're gonna be bad, and you're gonna have to, like, muscle through this initial learning period. It's a fact of life, you know. But, you know, if it's hard, you know, that just makes it all the more rewarding once you get there in the end, right? But if you're playing one of these heroes that's hard to play, especially DPS, just don't bother interacting with anybody. And here's a tip for you, right? Don't bother with voice chat, at least while you're learning to play these heroes, even afterwards. Honestly, just don't worry about voice chat, it's a waste of time. People only use it to fucking yell and complain. Or as an easy excuse when things go badly. This one man out of all 6 of us wasn't in the team chat, so clearly that's why we lost the game. Obviously. Here's a cool tip for you. People will yell at you if you don't join voice chat. So have it auto-join the voice chat, but have voice chat's volume set to 0. They will now, if they're going to yell at you, they'll be yelling at you in voice chat in all likelihood, and you'll be none the wiser. You can just continue playing the game as if nothing ever happened. And they don't know any better. And if it's just one of those people that just wants to see all 6 people in voice chat or they're going to complain, they usually don't actually say anything productive. And all they really care about is that you're in voice chat. It doesn't matter what level of interaction happens outside of the fact 6 people are in voice chat. If nobody says anything all game, but 6 people were in voice chat, job well done. Good comms, guys. So they don't care. They won't know. Problem solved. Join voice chat, have it set to 0. Problem solved. Especially worth doing if you're playing people like Widow or Sombra. Anybody like that. Don't bother. Just don't bother. Because they're going to yell at you regardless of if it's your fault or not. Because they just kind of hate those heroes. So there you go. That's kind of the answer to that question. I don't have much else to say. So now we got to fill space while we wait for this game to finish back here. I don't really have that much to say about fighters this week. Usually I fill space by talking about how I'm sad Gogeta hasn't come out. But Gogeta's come out now, and I've already talked about it, so I'm not sure what else to do now. People have started speculating there's going to be a Season 3 of DLC for fighters because someone data mined out some folders that's sort of indicate a Season 3 is coming. And I'm not really surprised. I was kind of expecting there to be like 3 seasons of DLC, to be honest with you. Especially when Season 2 happened and some very obvious character candidates were not there. For example, we still do not have Kefla, which is like a really obvious one. We still don't have Ultra Instinct Goku, which is a really obvious one, even though people will complain, even though all of the Gokus play completely differently to each other, so I don't really care if they're Goku or not. That's just something people like to yell about in this game. Oh, more Gokus! None of the Gokus play the same. Who gives a fuck, right? They all play differently. It'd be like complaining that there's too many fucking Shoto fighters in Street Fighter. Shoto being the style that Ryu and Ken use. There's like 12,000 Shoto fighters, dude, but they all play completely differently. Like, and the fucking Street Fighter people don't complain, ooh, another Ryu. Like, it's ridiculous. Anyway. We don't have, like, Kefla, we don't have, Ultra Instinct Goku. And we don't have, like, some really demanded characters. Like, Roshi has been wanted for a really long time. Roshi isn't here. Neither is Bulma in a mech, which is the worst possible world we could live in, basically. We don't have Bulma with a mech yet. People are saying they want Raditz. They don't actually want Raditz. People are just like, well, we've got base form Vegeta, and we've got Nappa, so we have to have Raditz to round out the Saiyan Saga antagonists. No one fucking gives a shit about Raditz, dude. No one gives a fuck. We probably, like, who else could we have, like, movie-wise? I guess we still don't have BoJack, but, like, who the fuck cares about BoJack, dude? God, I'd be so happy if they added, Turles. That'd be fucking sick, dude, because, like, that's literally just Goku, but tinted darker. Oh, people would be so mad if we got, like, Ultra Instinct Goku and Turles. Oh, that'd be fucking sick, dude. I'd love to see just everybody on like, the Reddits explode. Oh my god! 2 Gokus! Oh, what a time to be alive. Oh. People get so mad about that. I've never understood it. Like, all of the Gokus play differently. Why are you this bent out of shape about it? And, like, dog, we got a lot of characters in here that are not Goku still. Let me go, I'm gonna come over here. This is the wrong area. I'm gonna show you all the characters we have that are not Goku, dude. Just because that now I'm think about it and I get mad about it. So, you know, we've got the Gokus, obviously, but, like, we got Tien, Yamcha, Gohan, who people consider a Goku even though he's not. Krillin, Frieza. You know, look at all these people that are not Goku. Well, quite a few of these are not actually even human, are they? Wow. Oh, Kid Goku, completely different to the other Goku's playstyle. For some reason, we count Bardock as a Goku, because he's got the same hairstyle, I guess. You know, Vegeta and Gogeta, well, they're part of Goku's fusion, so obviously they're Goku, aren't they? Not really, but, you know. Look, there's a lot of characters in here that aren't Goku. Also, yes, please do fuck Zamasu, the only character I don't own. Also, while we're on the subject, on evidence for there being a Season 3, they put Gogeta here. Whereas if there was only going to be Gogeta and Broly, they would have surely put Gogeta here and Broly here, and then everything would be nicely rounded out. But now there's conveniently going to be space for 6 more people. How about that? There's a lot of people in here that aren't Goku, isn't there? How suspicious. For some reason, we also consider Cell a Goku a lot of the time, because I guess there's some Goku DNA in Cell. People look for reasons to complain about there being more Gokus. There's only really 3 Gokus. 4 if we must include Goku Black, but yes, he's using Goku's body, but that's kind of it. For some reason, we have to include people like Cell and Gohan and Bardock as Gokus, even though they aren't. We actually have 3 Gokus, but whatever. We were talking about Overwatch originally. So anyway, Space Phil, we got up to 30 minutes. Great job, team, even if we had to complain about Dragon Ball FighterZ for like 7 minutes. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching, if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord and ask questions more directly and have a conversation about them, or just shitpost with us. I've started streaming on Twitch Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 8 p.m. EST till midnight EST. There's a link to the channel in the description. And if you managed to make it all the way through the video and somehow still enjoyed it, please like the video and subscribe for more content of middling quality in the future. And I guess complaining about Dragon Ball FighterZ sometimes. And I hope you found the video helpful.